Welcome everyone to another Wednesday edition of the GM Show presented by the E2G Sports Network. You can watch us on Streamyard, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you get your social media news. I am MJ, your host. I'm alongside my co-host Galen. How are you, Galen?
Good, and yourself?
Can't complain. A lot going on in the world of sports, especially here in Boston now recently. So it's definitely ramping up. Usually, last couple of years we haven't had this much activity, especially serious activity in the world of sports. So it's exciting to watch. And
Big Wednesday night, that's for
big
sure.
Wednesday, definitely a big Wednesday night. You got the GM show, obviously. You got the special edition of the GM show, which is a Celtics preview from 7 to 8, getting you as close to tip off as we can. We don't want to go up against the Celtics, but we'll get you from 7 to 8. We'll discuss Celtics. But for this first hour of the GM show, or this truncated hour, came in a few minutes late today. We're going to jump into stuff we haven't actually got into in the last couple of weeks. Um,
With a good reason.
for a good reason. I mean, the Celtics have kind of taken over for a while, and obviously football took over for a while. But now we're back. We're back with getting back to our normally
Scheduled broadcast.
scheduled program. But we're going to start off with the surging hot Boston Red Sox. That's a team that's we thought they were dead in the water back in back in April. We thought this team had no pitching, no bullpen. Their offense wasn't hitting enough, and obviously it's only been 6 straight games. It's only been it's been a sample size. It hasn't been that much that we've seen, but obviously they're tearing off the ball. They're smashing the baseball around the park, no matter at Fenway or like it was in Chicago last night when they put up 16 runs. And that's a team. This is a team that I did not see scoring 16 runs just a couple weeks ago. I thought this is a team that's going to have a lot of similarities to a team like, I don't want to say 2020 because that was just terrible, but like 2012 where you have all the talent in the world, you just can't get it all together. And then obviously with the ongoing discussions between Bogarts, Devers, are they staying? Are they leaving? What's going on there? And now the Red Sox 6 in a row, but still 2 games under 500. That's how much of a hole they put themselves in. They're 20-22, and it looks like it's getting better, but it just seems like they dug themselves such a huge hole that it doesn't look like it's going to be definitely hard to come back from. Which the season's still young, so I think there's a lot of things that can still change. Injuries, teams may hit a slump. You hit your slump. You hit a streak, and that's how it all works there. But one guy that a lot of people were bashing starting the season was Trevor Story. Trevor Story signed that huge contract to play. A lot of people said potentially shortstop within the next year because Bogarts would be gone, but he's playing second this year while Bogarts is still on the roster. And his last 5 games he's been on a tear. 6 home runs, 17 RBI. He had a 3 home run game on Thursday night, and he had another home run last night. So it seems as though he's finding his stride. He's finding his rhythm, and he has 8 home runs, 32 RBIs already on the season, and he's still batting .230. That's another thing. You put yourself in a hole. You're still going to have, it's going to take him. I don't even think he can ever, break 300 at this point, but at least he's doing enough to kind of get us talking and get us saying, okay, maybe this guy has something, and maybe this guy can be a part of the Red Sox for years to come. I know I just went on for a lot, but just going back to the Red Sox, so many 6-game winning streak. What are your thoughts about the team? Do you think this is the real Red Sox we thought we would be getting to start the season?
I would have to say, I'm very, very tempted to climb on board here, with I'm sure so many others, with what's been playing out on the diamond, night in and night out for the last week or so. But you just as quickly as you'd like to do so. I mean, I feel like it's definitely in everybody's best interest just to kind of temper expectations just a little bit, just because I feel like they really underwhelmed and didn't play anyways even close to like quality baseball. through the first month and a half, literally. They've just been straight garbage, to be honest. To be honest with you, straight hot garbage for that matter. I
Mhm.
mean, they basically pissed us off right from the very early portions of the season, first couple of weeks, to the point of where like you and I, we didn't really want any part of this team, and deservingly so. We just wanted to kind of channel our energy and all of our sports takes and knowledge in other directions. The Bruins at the time, vying for a playoff position, the Celtics, the best team in the NBA. Obviously, there was draft talk. So, I mean, for them to get pushed back, for so long, um, to just now, here we are now in about what, the third week of May. I think it's warranted. The time is now. I told you that that time would eventually come. So here we are, and they finally deserve our attention. But I think any legitimate baseball fan, Red Sox fan, Yankee fan, whoever your team may be, if your team was stuck in a rut for so long and then now has been playing such a tremendous and very consistent last week of baseball and change thereabouts. I mean, shoot, they're not even just hot; they're sizzling hot. That's, you can just hear it like you're cooking on a frying pan. They are just straight white hot right now. It's very good to see. Now the big question I would have to say to myself, you, and a lot of others is this real? Can this be kept up? And much of these wins of late came against another team, kind of just down and not really all that talented and contending this year, being the Seattle Mariners. But just before that, the Sox took 2 of 3 against, I still feel certainly one of the better opponents in the American League in being the Houston Astros. So, but they definitely have a chance to keep this train moving right along. I mean, they had a huge win last night against, I think, probably one of the better teams, if not probably the best team when all said and done, in the, representing the Central, being the Chicago White Sox. If anyone missed that one, 16-3 beat down there last night. And we'll see what games 2 and 3, they follow that up with. But then after that, they have not one, not two, but 5 straight against the Baltimore Orioles before starting off a quick little in and out series with the Reds, followed by 3 against the Oakland A's. So talk about the schedule certainly playing right into their hands. Perfect timing, just align right with this hot streak. That looks like what the baseball gods just happen to set this up beautifully. Let's have the Red Sox catch fire, followed by, like I like to say from time to time, followed by some layups. So I think it could be sustainability, but I think once you finally do come out of this stretch, now we're really going to see what this team is made out of, because eventually those heavy hitters are going to come back around, and they're going to start playing some pretty stiff and quality opponents again.
No, yeah, I agree. Especially this is a big series against the White Sox because they are a game ahead of you. So if you can take at least 2 out of 3, or even potentially sweep after what we saw last night, that'll put you into that seventh place out of the wild card race. So you're getting inching back. You're 5 games back. If you can just keep winning a couple of those games and try to catch up to the Blue Jays. And like you said, you have the Orioles for 5, the Reds for 2, and then the Oakland Athletics in Oakland, but they're not playing their best baseball. The Reds are potentially the worst team in potentially the worst team in baseball, if not just if just not in the NL, but all of baseball as well. And then the Orioles, obviously, they're the Orioles. They're still in rebuild mode, for years now. But looks as though the Red Sox are getting hot at the right time. You would have preferred them to have a balanced streak, a few games above 500, maintaining, through 42 games. But, we're at this point, and I think this is the baseball gods, like you said, are giving the Red Sox, and it's never going to be easy. I don't think they're going to, they can potentially sweep them all, but, if you can just win series, and something that you weren't able to do for the first month of the season, I definitely think that this team can actually make things interesting for us and make us watching again. Because, like I said in previous shows, the Red Sox do not deserve my attention. They didn't deserve. I really didn't want to talk about them. They just weren't interesting. It seems as though they didn't care as much, and we thought that Trevor Story was going to have issues with the Boston culture and the Boston fan base, but it seems as though he's getting once you start playing, once you start hitting, the fans will love you, and that's how it works around here. Once you perform on the biggest stage, we appreciate you even more. But having said all that, we're all appreciating what the Red Sox are currently doing, and obviously they're getting overshadowed in Boston right now. A lot of people are noticing the Red Sox, but they're not really talking about it. For the simple fact is, there's a big series that's going on in the NBA tied to too. So, they're still, if there wasn't for the Celtics, they could be the talk. The Red Sox could still be the talk of the town at this point, even in the month of April. But having said all of that, taking what we've seen so far, what we've seen this change in the offense, and the pitching seems to be getting a little bit better by the day. And Chris Sale's supposed to be throwing a 25 pitch, 25 bullpen session on Friday. Still no timetable for him or James Paxton to come back. So those are two guys that I feel as though we're relying.
Back around, and they're gonna.
What was that?
Oh, just on my end by accident. It was my phone. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I think that James Paxton and Chris Sale, people are relying too much on them to be, the saviors, especially because they haven't really done it. Especially for Sale, has been kind of lukewarm last couple of years after the Tommy John surgery. But I think when you're looking at this team going forward, as the next 4 or 5, 4.5 months go by, should we start to look at this team as a serious contender, or is this just kind of a little hot streak they got on, and it's just going to go back down within the next couple of weeks?
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's very tough to say which way it's going to go, because I feel like they were down for so long. But I mean, let's face it. I mean, the team is really starting to gel, and with that, I feel like they're starting to gel on multiple fronts offensively. They're really getting it done. The pitching is finally starting to come into its own, both from a starter standpoint and even some of these guys out of the bullpen. But like I said, I can't speak for you. I'm sure you'll probably agree. I need to see that sustainability. They need to really go into these next couple of upcoming series, and they need to just dominate. They have to, if they're not sweeping, like I fully expect, for example, with what did I say, Baltimore? I think it was a 5-game stretch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3 games is to be expected, but it's hard to sweep anyone 4 or 5 games. But I really think to really make a statement against, in terms of like, yep, we're the Red Sox, you're still the Orioles, we're back. You need to win at least 4 of those games. You like to think, because again, pitching, offense, huge advantage across the board for your Boston Red Sox. So again, I'd have to say, again, just pump the brakes, even though it's kind of tempting, probably not to do so, especially as we've seen for so many years. Boston Red Sox fans in particular, so quick just to, I don't know, just get a bit too optimistic and a bit too excited too soon at times. And I feel like, potentially that could be just one of those times. I mean, we'll see. I hope that they prove me wrong and that this is gonna prove to be probably in large stretches what we're gonna expect to see from this team moving forward, especially if they do have playoff aspirations. I mean, like you said, they dug themselves into such a hole. You have to go on a run and basically stay there. The division probably is already like too far gone, but with the whole playoff format and the wild cards and stuff, and that sort of thing, I mean, yeah, the Red Sox should be players, and there are some other quality teams kind of jumbled together along with them. So to make sure that they don't slip up, I mean, they can't really afford too many of these long extended sort of losing streaks that we've seen play out, early in the season. So I think that there's potential. I think that there's legitimate optimism, but let's do it over the next 2, almost 3 weeks, when all these series end up, playing out. I think it's there to look back and like, wow, this is when the season definitively turned the corner.
No, I say June 25th, which I believe is the halfway point in the season.
So basically a month from today.
Yeah, a month from today, exactly, from a month from today. So a month from today, I'll check. I mean, I'll still be watching and I'll still be paying attention to the Red Sox. But as far as making a decision, if this team is really for real and they're back to what we thought, a lot of people kind of weren't as crazy about the Red Sox going into this season, but I was very optimistic because of what we saw last year. We thought, okay, Alex Cora's back. We have a guy that's going to get the attention of the players. We have a guy that's going to, that's going to get, understand these players and kind of can relate to these players. And we saw what happened last year. He comes back, they tear it up. They go, 2 wins away from the AL, from the World Series last year. So I thought we can build off of that, and especially when you add a guy like Trevor Story, it's a big name. It's definitely is a big bad. That he especially with his time with Colorado. So I thought it was big, and I thought the Yankees will definitely take a seat back because it's just a back seat to the Red Sox, just because they just don't. I don't see them having the same Yankee firepower that they used to. But I was wrong because the Yankees seem to be back. Aaron Judge is insane at this point. He's a guy he looks like he's trying to get some. He's in his contract year. Aaron Judge is, so he's tearing the hat off the ball because obviously he's trying. He's trying to get paid. But we all know he's a great talent. But that's the scariest thing is the Yankees are back. The Astros, I still think are going to be there. And obviously there's a lot of up and coming teams like the White Sox and the Twins in the AL Central that pose some issues. And the Angels, even though the Angels have always been an underwhelming team with all the talent that they have, I think that the Angels are finally starting to take that turn with Ohtani and Trout being the main, the leaders in the clubhouse, especially after Trout been there year in and year out since 2012 and he's never made a playoff. He made the playoffs once in 2014. So I definitely so far so good. I'll just say so far so good for the Red Sox. Call me on June 25th, and we can talk about if they do have a chance, if they should be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline. That'll be huge. I do think they need to make some added pieces to this roster, preferably on the pitching side. But we needed pitching last year as well, and we didn't really get that. So we don't really know what Chaim Bloom's doing in the front office. Him and his analytics nerds, but I'll be interested to see if this tear can at least be sustained for another couple weeks, and then obviously at least we can get to a more consistent, win a couple series, maybe lose one here and there, but you have to be able to win more than one series in a span of a month. So Um, so that's our Red Sox takes. So the people that were actually asking for Red Sox takes, which I don't think there was a lot, you got Red Sox takes that have been a month and a half in the making, because that's the last time we've talked about the Red Sox.
Right.
Yeah. So, but you're listening to the GM show on the E% by Streamyard. You can watch us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. That's it. And StreamYard. And you can also if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can definitely comment, and we can try to get to that as quickly as possible in the comment section. So now we're going to transition to a sport that's always dominating the headlines, just because it's the most watched sport in the country and it's the most popular sport in the country. NFL. I feel like we haven't talked about NFL in a while either. I feel like that's been dying down as well. After the draft and after as OTAs start going on, you don't really hear a lot of rumblings as you do, the first couple months in the offseason, especially the draft process. But we're going to start off with the Patriots. Biggest questions concerning the state of the New England, the 2022 New England Patriots. I don't know where Galen went. Did he take off? Did you take off, Galen?
No, I'm here. I was just letting you just transition us.
Yeah.
I was updating the doc. Sorry.
Oh my bad. I was like, what the hell happened? I was like, I saw you, but I was like, he didn't leave, so I don't know if I did something. What was I? Biggest questions and concerns concerning the New England Patriots. So for me, if I'm looking at the 2022 New England Patriots and kind of looking back at how the 2021 season ended, I think that there was a lot to like about the 2021 season. They didn't start off right, 2-4, first 6 games. Then they went on that tear, just like the Red Sox did. They went on that tear where they won 7 in a row and then kind of tailed off at the end of the season and got smashed by the Buffalo Bills in the AFC wildcard round. So a lot of people, all the good that they did, for the majority of the season, from the middle to towards the end of the season, kind of got washed away. And we thought that we had a lot of issues that we needed to fix. We needed to get Mac Jones more help. We needed to get the defense a little bit younger and faster. And when you looked at how the offseason has gone, it's definitely different. It's kind of more so what the New England Patriots are used to doing in the offseason, as opposed to what they did last year and years of like 2017 and 2007. They're not big spenders. They pay certain guys. They pay here and there. But as far as paying guys top of the market money at multiple positions like they did last year, it's definitely outside of their wheelhouse. But they had to do it just because of how the 2020 seasons went, and because the Golden Boy, the Golden Pony, Tom Brady, went on to win a Super Bowl in his first year in Tampa Bay. So they had to do it. And there was a lot of concerns about, all right, is Aguilar, is Bourne that guy? Is Judon going to be that top-end pass rusher? He was for the majority of the season. Then he kind of tailed off as well, and a lot of people are figuring out, is that who he is? Does he kind of starts off hot, starts off too fast, and then kind of dies down at the end, kind of gets tired, kind of gets worn down by the end of the year, which is, should be the opposite at times. But there was a lot of things I like to see in the 2021 campaign, was just as much as Kendrick Bourne wasn't the superstar receiver that we wanted, he was a complementary piece. And he seems to buy into the Patriot way, seems to get along with all his teammates, seems to be kind of like the leader in at least the wide receiver clubhouse, but seems to be gets along with everybody, offense, defense, tight ends, doesn't matter who, has a good relationship with Mac Jones. And I love the energy he brings to the ball club, and as well as Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, and newly acquired Devontae Parker. Going back to the questions, I know I kind of rambled on going back to last year. It's not the receiving core. I look at the receiving core. A lot of people say, "Oh, this is just a bunch of number 2s, number 3 receivers," but I'm concerned about the offensive line because they made a lot of changes where they didn't really need to. I know Shaq Mason had a huge cap number that was kind of go against the cap and kind of take him away from doing some things. But you traded Shaq Mason to Tampa, to Tommy Boy, and then never really replaced them with at least a veteran a veteran presence. I mean, you have Mike Onwenu, who has proven he can play, multiple positions.
MJ, real quick, didn't mean to cut you off, but finally got the alleged very strong rumors that seem to be flying from much of today. Looks like we do have some breaking news, definitive. It is confirmed. Big man for the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo, has tested positive for the coronavirus. And obviously, with that being said, he's just a no-go for tonight. And I'm sure there'll be more to come, but I just wanted to throw it out there because I kind of figured it was going to break at one point, and obviously with us hitting the air just after 6 o'clock, game right about 8:30 or so, you knew it was could be anytime. So, yep, breaking news here. You heard it here on the GM show. I guess we can kind of sum this up, but then we're just going to have to get your thoughts and see if there's anybody right now tuning in the show, see, what people think about this. But certainly huge news in any event for both Boston and obviously the hometown Miami Heat, just trying to defend home court tonight in Game 5. But continue.
All right, yeah, we'll just get to more of that at the 7 o'clock hour, because we tried to steer away from Celtics just because we don't want to take away too many. We don't want to say too much in this hour, and then have nothing to talk about in the last hour. So, but
yeah, no, I get it. I just wanted to kind of in case people were kind of wondering if we were going to touch on it, if they're seeing it, if we're seeing it. Yep, I am seeing it. Was just giving the heads up. And just wanted to break it, but certainly we'll be talking about this at length coming up at 7.
No, of course, and obviously we don't wish any ill or any bad upon any players, but that's a huge loss for Miami, and that could be a turning point in this series. If he can't play, and depending on his close contacts as well, so that's a big change. Sorry, so where was it? Oh, we're talking about the Patriots. Sorry. So my biggest questions was the offensive line. That's where I was. Sorry. You still got David Andrews. You have Trent Brown, who is not reliable. He's injured every once in a while, and it just doesn't seem like you can rely on a guy. Rely on him to stay healthy. And Isaiah Wynn, the same thing. So you trade Jack Mason, Ted Karras leaves, and you draft a guard in the first round, a guard who a lot of people say is was a 3rd round grade, a 4th round grade, potentially 2nd round, late 2nd. You draft a guard there, and he doesn't, from the Senior Bowl tape, doesn't look like he's getting a lot of pressures put on the quarterback. Doesn't look good. So there's a lot of questions on that offensive line. If you want Mac Jones to make that year 2 jump to actually start inching to an elite status potentially, you need to protect him. And a lot of people are saying, well, the biggest questions concerning the Patriots are Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. Yes, those two coaches are, I don't want to say failures. That's, the failures as head coaches, and they don't have any experience. But I'm not concerned about the actual coaching. I'm concerned about the pieces they actually have to be coached, because the defense was supposed to get faster. That's what Gerard Mayo said. And they do have a lot of young pieces that we all kind of forgot about, because they've been having, redshirt years or injured very early in their career. But the defense, the secondary, which used to be their strong suit, seems to be kind of either aging and kind of becoming, the talent isn't as great as it used to be when it was J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, and McCourty. This team looks like I think they'll still be in contention, just like we're talking about the Red Sox being in contention. But I don't. That offensive line is what's worrying me, because the pieces, Mac Jones has all the pieces there. I think those are good enough pieces for him to succeed. We don't need Odell Beckham. We don't need Deebo Samuel. That'd be great to have guys, especially if Odell was healthy. But I think they have enough there. It's the guys who are going to be blocking for Mac Jones. Is he going to even have enough time to get the ball to these receivers and these tight ends and these running backs out the backfield? So they have to, hopefully, I could be wrong. Maybe there's a diamond in the rough, that an undrafted free agent or late round pick like Chasen Hines or Andrew Stuber, like Mike Onwenu was way back when. But So it's offensive line for me. So what are your biggest questions, Galen? Sorry. Galen?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what do you, as far as when the Patriots, concerning the 2022 New England Patriots, what are your biggest questions and concerns?
I mean, the obvious concerns has to be, at least for me, certainly the coaching staff. You know, the whole, just I don't know, just the piecing together of that in itself. I feel like you got, Coach Judge, you got guys like Matt Patricia coming back, from failed places, you know, prior to their, initial stop here in Foxborough. Joe Judge and Patricia both as head coaches. Them not really having, quite the, I don't know, vote of confidence from like team personnel, mainly the players. I feel like there was a lot of disconnect and certainly more down moments than good moments, and I feel like, yeah, they know New England, they know this team. They obviously know Coach Bill being around. Uh, Being around them, for as long as they were the last go around. But I feel like, I don't know. It just seems like New England is rolling the dice. They're taking a big gamble on not only bringing these guys back into the organization, but also just having them play such, vital roles, especially like as soon as they are, I mean, Matt Patricia, obviously he was more of a consultant last year, so maybe not so much him, but when I hear Matt Judge and him apparently like clearly working with Mac Jones, and I mean, I sure hope not, but he seems to kind of be hinting at in some of his interviews and stuff with the media that like he's gonna have, a pretty big hand in this whole offensive play calling. I mean, I don't know, that kind of freaks me out a little bit. I'm certainly a bit scared. I don't really know what to think, especially when it comes in terms of Mac Jones's development. I feel like this is a really key year when it comes to Mac Jones. I mean, a lot of times you like to see these big, highly regarded first round draft prospects, especially and especially at the quarterback position. Mac, I wouldn't say he didn't fall on his face, far from it. Um, he did pretty well. And for the most part, yeah, I mean, it was certainly a hit. It was certainly a success in his rookie season. I mean, there was times where he kind of flatlined a little bit, and struggled to maintain that sort of consistency on the field week in and week out. But I feel like guys like him and guys where, that are often seen and labeled as a franchise guy, as the next guy, you a lot of times see them take that big, massive leap, from year 1 to 2. And I feel like, if it was guys that were still, he was surrounded by, like a Josh McDaniels and a guy that, certainly we know can run an offense, is known to be one of the better coordinators. Obviously he's had success, with his at the quarterback position. I mean, clearly not everybody has the luxury of like a Tom Brady, but I just feel like they're gonna feel that loss. There's just no way around it. I mean, that's kind of a step back going from McDaniels to Judge, and then obviously you got a guy like Mac Jones in year number 2. So the personnel is already not great. I mean, they got some players, but certainly there's some teams both in the division and around the conference that certainly got noticeably better this offseason. So I feel like the jury's certainly out when it comes to the Patriots, where they're ultimately going to end up falling this year in 2022, 2023. But I just, it's one thing for the players not to perform, or you just end up bringing the wrong guys to town. But it's another thing, I feel like, when you're not really bringing in, to kind of help the elevation, to coach up and be able to um, be sound as an organization across the board, with, these coaching assistants and, coordinators, right? All the way up to, obviously, guys like Bill Belichick and the head coach for these teams. I feel like if there's not really that proven sort of leadership, to help guide these players and to bring out the best of them, then that's a problem, because you look around the league, and there's some damn good coaching staffs, not just a great coach and Bill Belichick, for example, dare I say, all-time great. I feel like he's kind of been just about that now for a little bit, and is only going to continue to pad his great resume of his. But then to see a noticeable drop off on top of it, to go along with, I don't know, just a team that, has potential, but I mean, the questions are still out on there. It's almost like it's shaping up for it to be the blind leading the blind. Obviously, stop me if you haven't heard that before. Obviously, we all have, right? So that's what I think about that. I mean, I don't know. I'm just hoping, as a New England Patriots fan, I'm hoping for the best, but I really don't know what we're going to get this year.
And also, just jumping back on what you did earlier, E2G founder, Buddy, looking at some messages that we're finding that he's, as the Celtics, going back to the Celtics, he's claiming Bam is not out. I haven't seen anything about Bam yet on my Twitter timeline.
Yeah, there was apparently one of the reporters I was seeing, but I don't know where they're getting their information from. But he did tweet it out, so I don't know if it was false information, but yeah, I'll be reading up more about that. I was just going by a report that I had seen.
Okay, and also Smart and Williams expected to play, and Tyler Herro is out. So that's big. We actually get Williams and Smart in the same game playing. Anyway, so going back to your Patriots take, yeah, like you said, blind leading the blind. Bill Belichick just loves having his friends around, teaching and doing. It's kind of like like a gentleman's club. It's an exclusive club that if you're not a friend of Bill, if you're not a former colleague of Bill, you cannot get in. And it's kind of getting to the point where his gentleman's club, his group of friends or coaches he's coached with or coached for him are not that good. I mean, Josh McDaniels, we'll see what he does in Las Vegas, but I don't really think that's he's a great offensive coordinator. Well, it's yet to be seen if he can be a great head coach. He failed the first time. Patricia failed miserably. He cannot captivate a locker room. And Joe Judge had the same thing. They all tried to emulate Bill too much. So maybe it's a thing where they all can, they're better coordinators or assistant coaches than they are the leader of as the head coach. But it's yet to be seen, especially when they're coaching positions that they've never really coached before. So we're going to transition to hockey. Something we don't really ever talk about is hockey, because for me, it's not really my strong suit. I do watch it, just not my strong suit when discussing hockey. But hey, listen, we do have takes on hockey too. We have takes on everything, potentially revolution eventually, But before I transition, you're listening to the E2G Sports Network, the GM show on the E2G Sports Network. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, we're getting a lot of breaking news. regarding the big Game 5 tonight in Miami. Tip-off is at 8:30 on, I think it's ABC or ESPN tonight. I think it's ABC on the weekends, ESPN on the weekdays. But yeah, so we'll be taking you up to that from 7 to 8 with a special GM show, Celtics preview show, and we'll discuss a little bit more of that. But an underwhelming playoff run for the Boston Bruins as they lose to the Carolina Hurricanes in the first round in Game 7 in 7 games, and they're ousted just like that. Everyone thought the Bruins, especially hockey, you always, if you get hot at the right time, if you can get the stick, the puck going in your right direction, you got to get those lucky breaks. You can win a Stanley Cup. The Los Angeles Kings in 2012 were the 8th seed. The last seed in the Western Conference, and they still were able to get the right momentum, play good playoff hockey, and win a Stanley Cup. This was not the case for the Boston Bruins this year. This always seems to be a lot of potential with the Bruins. They have a lot of pieces there. They have a guy like Charlie McAvoy, who was a up-and-coming stud. David Pastrnak. They acquired Taylor Hall last year. They still had Brad Marchand. They still had Patrice Bergeron. It just doesn't seem as though they can actually get, the consistency to play all together, play good hockey all at once. It's always kind of here and there. One player plays good, one player does not. It doesn't seem as though that it doesn't. What we saw in 2011, we saw a lot of good playoff hockey all around. You had 3 Game 7 series, and it was, you had grit. You had a guy like Tim Thomas that led you there. You got captain like Zdeno Chara at that time. But it seems as though that the Boston Bruins are in a transition, and it seems they have to kind of start making moves, shaking things up. And a lot of people are looking at Don Sweeney, the general manager, of being that guy, the guy that needs to be that Cam Neely needs to kind of say, all right, we need a change here, because he hasn't made the right moves. It goes back to the 2015 draft where he had 2 straight first-round picks and blew them both. Or I think it was 2 straight first-round picks in the first round and blew them both. And you have a guy like Jeremy Swayman, who seems as though he can have potential to be a upstanding goalie in this league, but it does, you kind of wasted Tuukka Rask's year. You could also say Tuukka Rask wasted his career as a Boston Bruin. Great Boston Bruin, great goalie, but never really got to that next step. Took him to 2 Stanley Cup finals, but could never actually get over the hump and actually become a championship goaltender. So when I look at the Boston Bruins, I think the GM definitely is. The GM is definitely something they have to look at. Bruce Cassidy can only do so much with that team, and it all starts with upstairs with Don Sweeney. So I think that with Don Sweeney, and obviously you're going to be losing a lot of pieces. I think Patrice Bergeron is a flight risk. I think he will be retiring. It just doesn't seem, even in his last press conference and the way he actually hugged all his teammates after Game 7, it seems as though he already made up his mind. He's just taking some time to kind of finalize it. But I think he will be walking away. He's given this organization, he's given the sport of hockey everything he has. So I think that he will be, stepping away from the game. And as far as his impact on the team, that's gonna leave a huge dent, because he's been, along with when Char was here, the two of them were kind of the guys that kept that locker room together for all those years. But what do you think needs to change with the Bruins? Do they need to shake it up, or they just need to kind of stand pat and maybe add a piece here and there?
I feel like much of their future is gonna rest with the ultimate decision that you were just talking about with Patrice Bergeron. But I'm not so quick to lean on the side of Patrice calling it quits. I think a lot of times what you see in here, especially like in certainly in the immediate aftermath, if not, soon after, a couple days after the fact, I feel like, a lot of times it's emotion. It's just plays a big part of like, how sometimes it may seem, just again, just watching them, their body language, listen to words that are being spoken. I feel like, you know, a decision of this magnitude, you have to give it a little bit more time, you know. But if you kind of just, you know, go with, all right, this is how it looked, this is how it sounded. I mean, there's still like it's still fresh. It's too new. Certainly too soon. So, and I feel like, you know, in a lot of times the sports reference, like, you know, Marcus Smart, let's just say, oh, as I go, the team goes. Okay, like maybe in your head, but I feel like some players, some uh, key guys to their respected teams, their sports. And in this case, you know, the Boston Bruins captain, Patrice Bergeron, I feel like there is credence to that. You know, I kind of am of that belief where as he goes, the team goes. He's a tremendous leader, both on and off the ice. He stays coming through, getting the job done, and literally just doing everything that he needs to set the precedent as a member of the Black and Gold. So, I mean, if he ultimately ends up hanging it up and calling it quits, it would have been a great career. You know, yeah, it's a big loss. It would be a big loss. It'd be very tough to kind of just continue on as a team. Again, to the whole point, as he goes, that the team goes, and that could be a sign in itself to, you know, maybe plan and have an eye out for the future, and, you know, maybe it starts effective immediately, you know, along the rebuild path. But I will say, if it does get to that point, then, you know, how tough would that be? Because obviously, with you bringing in Lindholm, signing him to that massive deal, you also got, you know, key, you know, parts of the core on this team that have been signed in the show, just in the recent past, a la Charlie McAvoy. You're going to have to make a decision on David Pastrnak. Marshawn, what do you do with him? You just let him play it out, or do you potentially look to sell high on either him or Pastrnak? I mean, I think if you know, he just happens to make that decision and possibly retire, I don't think he will. I'm not indicating that, but you can't rule out anything. Hence, well, you know, false reporting of just a few minutes ago. But you just really can't rule out anything. But I feel like if he ends up making the decision to possibly hang it up, I feel like the Bruins, they might have to go in another direction, because I think that's going to be too surmountable to you know, try and even follow up this successful season. You already were down a number 2 center, and now you're going to be down a number 1 center. That might be a bit too much to come back from.
Yeah, and that's where, I mean, that's Bergeron has meant so much. He's been with it feels like he's been with the Bruins forever. He's been with the organization since 2003, and has been an upstanding citizen. Never got into any trouble. Doesn't have any kind of social media. Whenever he releases a statement, he releases it through the team. He doesn't actually release it on, you know, his Instagram, his Facebook, or whatever the case may be. And you know, upstanding family man. You know, always performed on the ice. Multiple Selke trophy winners. Winner. And it's going to definitely be a loss if he does retire. I hope you're right that he's not, you know, that he does play for at least one more year and at least makes another ride for a second Stanley Cup. But it's just all signs point for me when I look from the outside looking, it looks as though he might be kind of calling it quits at this point. But if he were to, let's just play the hypothetical game. If he were to leave, who do you think is that next guy that you kind of look at that's the team is going to rally around?
Marcus Smart, Ian Bob.
What did you say? Who's that next guy?
Yeah, who's that next guy?
I mean, in all honesty, I feel like if it's going to be a next guy, and if it's not going to be Patrice Bergeron here in Boston, I mean, let's face it. I just said they don't even have a definitive number 2 center, and now you're asking what's next. I mean, from an organizational standpoint, it's nothing here in Boston. I'll say that right
You
now.
don't think
And
Marchand?
no, because
He's too
Marchand. I mean,
volatile. He's too
huh?
volatile. He's too volatile at times to be
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah, that, and I feel like he's meant for the wing as
Yeah.
well. I mean, we've seen that for an extended time.
What I meant by
Uh,
you don't know, I'm talking about captaincy.
I thought you were talking about who's gonna be like
Yeah.
physically replacing.
No, like captain
Um,
of the locker room.
I would have to say this may sound to be a bit too premature. I feel like you probably can't consider Marshawn just because he's too much of a flight risk. When playing the game, Dave David Pasternak, I feel like he's a bit too just. I don't know. He's kind of out there, goofy. He's not really, or at least I don't see him just yet. The prototypical sort of leader. But I would have to say, in terms of having several years under his belt, achieving a lot in this league, stepping up, being accountable in big moments, coming through. And I feel like he really is potentially a legitimate option moving forward. Um, and I don't know, he's just got so much hockey in front of him. I wouldn't rule out maybe as Charlie McAvoy. I'm really high on him. I think he has tremendous leadership qualities. Again, he's one of the league's best already at his position around the league, let alone obviously being the best and potentially the next in line here in Boston. I would have to say I might be looking his way, even though from an age standpoint, it took Bergeron a while to actually take on that seat because obviously you had the Zdeno Charas and stuff, ahead of him for obvious reasons. But yeah, there's not really much here on this team, so I think he might get it by default.
Yeah, that's the only person I can actually see being a realistic possibility. Um, if obviously it's a hypothetical question. If Bergeron does intend to retire from the NHL, um, but I know we started a little late today for the GM show. We're going to transition. It's already 7 o'clock. We're going to transition into our special. What are we calling it? The Celtics preview show.
Celtics live preview. Yep.
Celtics after dark. Where do I get? How do I get that
like
tint? Can't get that tint. Trying to get that tint.
to.
Anyways, I'll work on that. And then I will add Buddy. Buddy's joining us. The E2G founder, Buddy. Buddy is going to be joining us right now to discuss this pivotal Game 5 in Miami tonight. How we doing, Buddy?
I don't know. I fit my fat face on the swimming.
There he is.
Good, closer, little closer. Oh yeah, small box. That works. That works. Oh jeez.
What's up, buddy?
How we doing, guys? Ready for an exciting night?
Yes, absolutely.
The line just jumped from 3 to 3.5 within the last 10 minutes.
Wow.
In favor of the Celtics, just to let you know, kind of how things are going. There's something fishy. People are playing games.
Yep.
Pat Riley just being a DB himself. And the line outside the arena, there's like 14 people. They're all jacked up to get in there and do something.
That's always Miami basketball. Even when it was LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade, they would show up in the second half.
Yeah,
They would show up.
It's a third world sports city. Sorry, Miami.
Yeah.
Right.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, you already know when it's almost always like never the Heat's, night. Just in front of the home fans. I mean, they're ready just to take off like early second half. It's pretty interesting. But again, my apologies, buddy. But I thought I just
don't worry about it.
Something real quick.
Don't forget, I had Bobby Wagner to the Patriots. I'm just trying to teach a lesson.
But you know what's crazy is I feel like this is just something that we see all the time, and I was so caught up in show mode. It happens. But My apologies.
All we got to do, and we'll just talk about it publicly, and everybody who works here, make sure you have good sources. There's the guys at the top of the list.
Absolutely.
Chris Roberts, NBA. He still has the NFL schedule with the Bengals playing at the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. We all know they're playing game 2. The schedule's been out 13 days now. So
I thought that was Bengals Cowboys. For the longest time, I was like, oh, it's going to be Bengals Cowboys. A good matchup.
Yeah, no, that's week 2. So
or is it? It's Giants Cowboys, right?
Yeah, of course. They always do that every year. It's like us in Miami for whatever reason.
I mean,
Smart being in.
Huh?
What do you feel about Marcus Smart being in tonight?
I'm actually probably a little less surprised about Marcus Smart. I was probably, if I were to be a betting man, to be honest with you, I would probably think that we would see him before Robert Williams. But then Woj did come out and said it did look pretty optimistic for Robert Williams. And I guess now, with Smart also following the same suit. So that's good. I mean, that's good as a Celtics fan. I mean, they're both huge in their own way. I feel like Robert Williams, certainly on the defensive side of the ball, and he definitely is a little bit of a difference maker on the offensive end. Marcus Smart, as we've all seen, as he's going well, I mean, he can affect both sides of the court pretty immensely. So I think it's a lot of good news for Celtics fans going into a pivotal game 5.
Yeah, I'm just go ahead, MJ. MJ, you're in the show, man.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know what else. Yeah, so as far as Marcus Smart, obviously, like we mentioned at the end of our show, as he goes, they go, according to him, Marcus Smart. But he's had a couple good games, and when he's there, his defensive presence is noticed and felt throughout the game. So, and it's been kind of with Robert Williams, Marcus Smart, it's kind of like every other game, one of them's out. Now they can never have both at the same time. So it's nice to see that you can kind of have your full arsenal all at once. And I just think, Robert Williams looks like he's getting back to the same old Robert Williams. Obviously, the injury is still kind of hampering him from doing anything, doing a lot on the court. But even him at 75, 70%, I think that it could be definitely will help tonight, especially in a game that you want to take this for the Celtics, because you don't want to come back to Miami for a game 7. So you want to go back home to Boston 3-2 and close it out at home on Friday night. So I'm hoping that we can that they can do that.
Just to let you know, good luck with the Friday night of Memorial Day weekend. In 2008 and 2010, they closed out the series in a game 6 on the Friday of Memorial Day. They beat the Magic in 2010 and the Pistons in 2008. So it's been a good night for the Celtics in the past.
Okay, I'm trying to think. Was it on 2000? I know Memorial Day was for 2010. Maybe it was 2008. I thought it was in June. I could be wrong. I don't remember. I think it was. Yeah, probably was Memorial Day.
I was running the board that night for the one against the Pistons. They were down 10 and just went on a crazy run.
I remember that night. Celtics, Pistons in Detroit. I remember them screaming, beat LA in the locker rooms. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, so that Friday night is good luck. So let's get it tonight, and let's keep traditions going.
Definitely. So we've already discussed this, briefly, but the whole Bam Adebayo story. He is out. He is out. He is in. It looks as though I've been looking at my Twitter feed throughout the last half hour, so I haven't seen anything change as far as Bam Adebayo. So it looks like he is playing tonight. Tyler Herro is out. That would have been big if Bam Adebayo was out. That would have been a huge momentum change in the game, I feel.
Yeah.
Because he is a difference maker for that Heat team. He was a difference maker in Game 1. He was a difference maker back in 2020 in the bubble. That was his big resurgence for the Heat, and he was became an actual noticeable player, an actual piece to that puzzle. So
and you got to think, like you said, MJ. I mean, we're already seeing Robert Williams and Smart both into Tyler Hero being out. I mean, they're not going to start with one player and then like a half hour later rule out another. So you got to think he's got to be playing. He's probably the only key missing cog for Miami that's going to be out, and that's why the report is what it is. So
Yeah,
that
I'm
looks
looking
like
at him right now on ESPN.
Yep, he's playing. So
there was, I mean, the COVID outbreak thing that we got reported, back and forth. There was a lot of Twitter battles, Twitter rumors going around all day, concerning some local talent in Boston that, there was some COVID outbreaks. Some people had to stay behind in Boston for the Heat staff, but I think it was just staff and maybe a therapist for the team had to stay back. It was no one, a player or a coach that was actually impacted by that thus far. All these, the way COVID works, it could change, later tonight, it could change tomorrow. So we don't know, just as of we know right now, it seems as though both teams are healthy as far as COVID goes. And, at least we'll get as much, minus Tyler Hero, which is a big, obviously sixth man of the year. It's a big piece of the puzzle for the Heat. So,
yeah,
what do you
so
think?
I mean, I said, yeah, I mean, so with that, I mean, let's just get right to it. I mean, it's a very anticipated night, huge game for both sides. I just wanted to start off by asking, like,
Did you write it in?
What are your thoughts on the series thus far from both of you? I mean, we're 4 games in.
Buddy?
You
I think
and
it
Kate.
sucks. It really hasn't been competitive outside of a few minutes. It's just, it's not really been fun. I don't get me wrong. I loved Game 4, up 18-1. I'm like, all right. There goes the anxiety.
Yeah.
Hasn't been a great series. Not what I was expecting. Teams running away from each other. Just not good. And the game to game, I just wondering if these teams are really just a winner's going somewhere to be put in a snare trap by the Warriors because of health. Like either one advances. Like, congratulations, you made it, but you don't have a lot of time to recover. That's why from the Celtics, I want to win and get 6 days off.
Yep. And that's definitely doable.
Next Thursday.
Yep, definitely doable. MJ?
Yeah, so when I'm looking at the series, like Buddy said, no games have actually been it hasn't been a nail biter. Obviously, we started coming back in game 3, but we kind of already had lost it before then, and it was kind of exciting for a little bit, and then we kind of fell back down in that game. But as far as like total games, it's been kind of one team dominates in one game, then the next team dominates the other, then the next team dominates. It hasn't been, as far as a game wise. I mean, the series is tied 2-2. So as far as theater and what the NBA wants, yes, it's kind of they want this game. They want this series to go to 7 because it's better for them. It's better for their brand. It's better for revenue. But as far as the product on the court, it's been kind of sloppy at times. Like we saw Game 3 of the Celtics. It was just sloppy, and you've seen these injuries keep piling up. It's almost as if it's better for the NBA if one of these teams take it in 6 and have, like Buddy said, those 6 days rest, because you don't want to press these guys like a Williams, a Marcus Smart, Tyler Hero, or anyone else that's injured, and then you have a lackluster product in the NBA Finals because these guys were overworked and didn't have as many days off as they needed. So 6 days off, that way you have either one of these teams, whoever advances, which I'm hoping it's the Celtics. We're all hoping it's the Celtics. I think it will be the Celtics, but to get guys with fresh legs, and that way you have a more competitive NBA Finals than you've had in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Now, obviously,
can I throw one more point in?
Yep, go ahead, buddy.
That 6 days is important to me because I'm sure Wednesday is like a media day. So they got to travel Tuesday. So if they play Sunday, they're coming home, packing up, getting ready, going to San Francisco.
Absolutely.
Get this
Jimmy Kimmel did.
Now that we okay, go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead now.
Now that we know what we know about who's in, who's out, do you agree? Do either one of you agree with the Celtics decision, especially more so for Robert Williams playing him tonight, as opposed to maybe try and see if you could pull this out with him, sitting this one out and then returning home with or without him? They definitely can take it to Miami, but you got to think he was probably going to play 2 out of these 3 games. I have a hard time believing they're going to be able to get him to play in all 3 games. Do you agree with the decision to have him give it a go tonight? I'll start with you, MJ.
I think it's, at this point in the year, this is Eastern Conference Finals. Yes, I know you can play we could probably take this guy. We can probably take Miami with or without, this guy. But you got to play. I mean, if these guys are healthy, if Robert Williams was not healthy at all, I don't think they would, risk it. But if he's healthy enough to play, get a few minutes, maybe not overwork him, maybe not get that 35, 40 plus minutes, but contribute.
Play him in spurts.
Yes, but play him in spurts and kind of get some production out of him. Then you use them. I mean, this is why you have these. These are why these guys are here. This is Marcus Smart and Robert Williams are a big reason why you've gotten to this point in the year, especially after January 29th. Those are the guys that kind of led you. Obviously Tatum and Brown were the front runners there, but as far as on the defensive end, these are the guys that got you to this point. And even if it is a game 5 in Miami, you have to take the chance that you can kind of at least steal a game in Miami, and then if anything happens, God forbid anything happens, you're back in Boston, you can take it to them then. But you shouldn't play any game. You can't really play any games at this point in the time. This is, you have a legitimate shot, and I know a lot of people are looking at the Warriors as being the top, top dog, as the dog barks, in the NBA, and they're the ones that are going to be, they're the ones that are favored to win. But I think you have a legitimate chance of beating the Warriors if you get to that point. But you have to play your best basketball, have your best guys out there to get to that point. So I don't think it's a bad idea to have Robert Williams or even Marcus Smart in there tonight.
What about you, buddy?
I'm kind of at the point. What are you saving him for?
Mm-hmm.
You got to win. You got to have your best players on the court, making plays, making a difference, so you can advance. Because if he sits out and they lose, what are we doing? What are we resting him for?
He literally sat on him for nothing.
Yeah. It was like, all right, well, what if we did use them? And then it's like, all right, well, we're going to play that game now, because now it's the whole what if Kendrick Perkins never got hurt in 2010. Like, you have to.
And I am too of the belief that I feel like I'm just all in with putting my trust and belief that they know what they're doing with, in particular, Robert Williams. So I feel like if it was that serious, if it was that sort of like much of a risk, I don't feel like they would go ahead and give them the green light to suit up tonight. So listening to what he had to say post game 4, I think was very encouraging, saying it was more precaution why he was removed out of that game. And it seemed like that it was just that, because I feel like they've handled him the correct way since this injury, and I feel like they're not going to risk his future mainly, and I don't feel like it's going to really put the team at much risk in terms of him not being able to get in there and do what he does and play a role. So I think that's very encouraging, whether it's game 5, 6, or what have you. So I like it. Feeling better going into tonight.
I don't think we're talking about like a Kurt Schilling situation where we got to worry about him the next couple of years.
Yeah.
With his contract off this, I think he's young enough. It's a meniscus, and if he has to go have it touched up again, he does. During the offseason, they're off like 13 days before next season. So
right, that's what it seems like.
Is it unbelievable? Even NHL is the same way.
It's going to be
Stanley Cup parade circles around into training camp.
It's the absolute quickest turnaround, like going in sports. It's crazy.
NHL is still in the second round. It's like, all right, well, and they're not even. I'm like, all right, dude, you're going to be ended up in July.
Right. before you could even get back home. They're already kind of like just reporting to training camp.
It's one of those things you couldn't even find
Awesome.
natural ice in Alaska at this point in time
Yeah,
of the
seriously.
year, and we're playing the Stanley Cup Finals. It's just man.
So just to continue down this road, how do we see Game 5 playing out tonight for both sides? What do you think are some of the things that has to break right? Especially for Boston. Start with you, buddy.
I want a quick start again. Defensive intensity, hands. As I always say, hands in basketball are like sticks in hockey. If you put them in the right position, you're going to touch the puck or the ball, and you're going to cause problems. And that's how you cause turnovers. That's how you get transition. That's how you get more possessions. That's just such a key. So, what we saw the other night, the rebounding with Al and pushing the ball and getting up court and getting into their offense quick, because there's times they will pressure and the Celtics won't get into their offense till about 15 seconds left on the shot clock. Realistically, you should be on your offense by 18 seconds. Across the timeline, Ime's calling the play out. Let's go. This is what we're running, and get the ball movement going. And ball movement, we don't need it to stick. And no careless passing. Just that Game 3. Oh, Galen, you were here. I wanted to choke people out. It was unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, MJ. What about you? What do you think?
I agree with Buddy. You got to start out fast. We saw what happened Game 4. They started out extremely fast. They dominated the first half, the first quarter of that game. They didn't allow Miami to even have a chance for the most part of that game. So I think you got to start off quick, especially in Miami. Take the momentum away from the crowd, like we always joke about, but it is serious. The crowd doesn't really get involved until the second half of the game, and we saw that in Game 1. The Celtics dominated the first half, and then once people started
crickets,
showing up, and then people start showing up, and then they fed off of that. So you kind of, before those people, those fair weather fans show up,
pink hats,
you take that lead. So even when the momentum and the crowd starts getting behind the Heat, you've already made it so hard for them to kind of even have a chance to even come back and win that game. But it also always has to start with your first team All-NBA superstar, Jason Tatum. He has to have, and it's almost every game, he has to have an impact game. Because, like we said, he's an all-star. He's a first-team All-NBA, superstar now. So he's getting the accolades he deserves. He's becoming, quickly a top 10 player, if not potentially a top 6, I don't want to say 5, but maybe potentially 5 after this postseason run comes to a close. But he has to get involved. You have to get contributions from Jaylen Brown and their number 3, which is not Marcus Smart, Al Horford, who has been a big part. That was probably the most underrated trade that Brad Stevens had made. We all thought, Al Horford, all right, he hasn't had a great career with the Sixers and the Thunder the last couple seasons, but he has come back to Boston and he has made an impact, especially in this playoff run. And you can just feel that it's a different Al than we last saw him in 2019. And if you can get those 3 guys, involved early, then it's going to be very, very hard for the Heat to make an impact. And obviously you have to kind of, on the defensive end, you have to make Jimmy Butler uncomfortable back there, on the offensive end, because we saw when he gets hot, he can get hot as well. And he had a bad game on Game 4, but back in Miami, he may have that home cooking, and he can get there. So make Jimmy Butler uncomfortable and get Tatum, potentially more so Tatum involved, and make sure you start off fast. Don't waste any time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to go 3 for 3 across the board here. I mean, I agree. It's an obvious. They have to come out with that urgency. They have to, like Buddy and you said, MJ, they have to come out with that fast start. Fast start.
Fat start.
Fat start too. Fat lead, man.
They have to come out with that
PH18.
fast. They have to come out with that fast start. And to be honest with you, yeah, they just really have to apply that urgency. And what I mean by that is they have to just literally whatever has played out to this point in time in the series, just lose all memory of it. You have to pretend like you're starting out the series all over again, like this is the first game. I feel like you have to have extreme short memory. Like, yep, you blew doors last game in Game 4, but what does that have anything to do with tonight? It really doesn't. You have to act like as if like your backs are truly up against the wall, and you're literally like a game away from going home for the season. I feel like that's what Ime should be doing. I feel like that is how he's kind of approaching this team behind closed doors. And I feel like, a combination like, hey, guys, whatever played out in Game 4, leave it behind. Let's just go ahead and act as if like, we're a game away from elimination. And I feel like to that, he needs to really drive home that the Celtics really are through and through the better team. They're the deeper team. And I know it seems like it's been one game on, one off for Tatum, one game on, one off for Tatum. And at times it's been frustrating to see his consistency kind of disappear in these playoffs. You still got to know definitively Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum. You still got the best overall star, superstar for that matter in this series. So now just go out, forget, being on enemy parquet floor. Just go out and take it. Go out, throw that first punch like they did with you here in Boston in Game 3. It's time to now hit him in the mouth and return the favor, and that starts tonight here in Game 5. I feel like if they do those few things, then you got to like their chances, especially with the likes of both Robert Williams and Marcus Smart not returning, but I mean Marcus Smart is returning, but Robert Williams, yeah, just getting in there with a healthy core supporting cast. It's good. I feel like everything is starting to line up, even though it's been lose one, win one, lose one, win one. The Celtics are the team of the two that are primed, and I feel like at any moment now ready to go on a streak. And I feel like whatever team happens to do that, and I think that team happens to be more so Boston than Miami. And I feel like if they do that, it's right there for the taking, literally. I just don't see Miami beating these same Celtics 2 games in a row. I don't think that they have that in them, but Boston certainly has that in them against anybody, not just Miami. So I think the plan should be kept simple, and I think that they have the right guy at the helm, that's able to dial these guys back in and just keep their eyes focused on tonight. Keep your eyes focused on the prize, and I assure you that the rest will, work out and play out in their favor. So that's about that. And just real quick, only because I can't look to help myself, but I got to ask you guys, what is your favorite part of this series thus far? I got mine. It could be on the court, could be off the court. Anything kind of pique your interest that you want to kind of shed a little light on?
We're gonna start with.
Yeah.
We'll start with you, MJ. Go ahead.
It's pretty hard because it's like we all said earlier. It should be an interesting series. But as far as like on the court, it hasn't really been. I mean, the buildup has been intriguing at times. You're like, all right, maybe we'll get a really good game, and we'll. But as far as like storylines, I just think, I mean, the most annoying storyline is obviously as a Celtics fan, seeing the Robert Williams Smart kind of every other day being out, being injured, this and that. I feel like the biggest storyline I think it's just we already knew Jason Tatum was a superstar and everything, but it just the impact that Al Horford has made for me on this team on his second go around with the Celtics. I feel as though that's something that's not really talked about other than his sister online that tweets all the time. But
Yeah.
yeah. But I love that kind of comeback story. You know, he's 36 years old. A lot of people counted him out, said he was done, he was over, but he still has a lot to kind of prove. And it feels like I'm a big movie buff and I've watched a lot of movies, and it feels as though this is kind of that redemption story for the Celtics and Al Horford and all these guys that were on that 2017, that 2018 team, that 2020 team, that kind of they couldn't quite get over the hump, quite get over the hump, and kind of kept getting ousted by the Cavs, ousted by the Heat the last time. And this is kind of their redemption story where they kind of come back and say, we have it now. We finally, just like the 1990-91 Chicago Bulls kept getting ousted by the Detroit Pistons. And now they finally made it, and they kind of are and they have this different swagger about them. They have this aura about them that they won it this time. Before it seems as though they were just happy to be there. Now it seems as though they're playing like, I want to solidify my legacy in not only Boston Celtic culture, but the NBA culture as a potential champion. And sitting on that mountaintop with that Larry O'Brien trophy, and that does wonders for a lot of people. You look at players differently when you're a champion, and that could do, especially how Tatum is being looked at differently already, being top one of the best players in the NBA at this point. You add a ring to his finger. That does wonders for your marketability, your contract, your contract status, your legacy as a not only a Boston Celtic but as an NBA legend. And it helps Jaylen Brown as well. It helps Al Horford as well. So I think it's different. I feel as though that whole aspect of, it's not really a storyline that's being discussed. It's not being reported on, but it's something that I like to look at it in a different light than some people do.
What I've taken out of this series,
Skylar.
I like Derek White. I like how he just kind of fits in, just plays. I'm trying to think of a player from the past that he reminds me of. He just plug and play. Like, it happens. And I heard them say it earlier on the radio, and it couldn't have been more accurate. He's just a pro's pro. I love players like that. Just, guys you can bring in and plug in, and they're going to do their job. They brought Brian Windhorst. Have you seen Brian Windhorst in the last 6 months at all?
He's LeBron James's guy, so obviously.
Yeah, so we haven't seen him since LeBron got eliminated. Mm-hmm. He looks like the guy who had to go to the wedding with somebody who was a bridesmaid and knows nobody there, and he was just staring at the camera and one-word answers like, dude, just get me out of this wedding into the hotel room. Maybe I'll get late or something. But oh my God, that was a tough watch from here. That's why I was making all those faces a few minutes ago. I was like, holy crap, they've rolled this guy out, and just that's it.
He's like, who's Jason Tatum? He's like Jason Tatum on note cards to say. It's like, doesn't even know who he is.
Half waiting for Louis Riddick to get a segment. They're bringing everybody out. It's just unbelievable here on ESPN.
Teddy Bruschi. I just saw Teddy Bruschi tonight.
Yeah, he's going to break it down. He's going to talk about the time he met Bill Russell.
So it's funny that I pose it like that, because I did so for a reason, and I had a feeling you guys were gonna bring up the player element and all that sort of thing. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but please tell me I wasn't the only one that seen the post game sort of hit from Game 4. So my favorite part, because like you said a little while back, buddy, how this series at times has been beyond predictable, and just totally okay, I guess that was fun. Not really, I feel like the Celtics, if it's not bad halves, it's been a bad quarter. which I know, take it for what it's worth. The Celtics have pretty much carried the play and the momentum throughout
2-2.
this series, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's still 2-2. So like that doesn't really matter, you know. But it's I feel like when they've won more in complete game effort, playing all 4 quarters, and Miami just couldn't be any more disengaged, you know. But where I was ultimately going with it is, did you see the Stephen A segment with the whole just blonde moment with his math breakdown? He was just like, oh, which was true. That half of the hit was true. The Miami starters scoring 18 points, and he goes, oh, that's whatever, you know, in typical Stephen A fashion, whatever. He's getting all revved up and stuff, and he's just like, yeah, that's on average 6 points a starter. And I don't
The new math.
I forget. Yeah, right. The new math. I forget if it was Butcher Gross, one of his colleagues, you know, in studio was just like, no, that's definitely less than 6. He goes, yeah, 5.5. And he was just like, no, still a little too high. And he's just like, he's doing the math in his head. He goes, oh yeah, you're right. Like, I feel like that one particular hit, you know, with like, clearly anyone with half a brain, you know, I just knows that math is just off. But like I couldn't stop laughing. I thought that was great. I feel like he was so focused on carrying out his well documented persona as a talent that it's just like, bro, like just slow down for a second and just realize how that even sounds. Like I know you know this math or whatever, like just calm down. So I feel like that the few minutes in itself kind of was just like a bit funny and humorous, and at times certainly more entertaining than even the games playing out through 4 games and counting. So that's why I had to throw that in there. I'm like, please tell me I wasn't the only one that saw that. Like, that was just awesome.
I need more Eddie House. I need more Eddie House on him.
Oh, he's good. He's good.
Really good.
I like Eddie.
Him and Big Perk. That's pretty entertaining.
I need more Big Baby at the games. I need more Big Baby.
I thought that was Bruce Armstrong. I wasn't even sure.
Yeah, snacks.
I feel like that whole Celtics pre and post game panel. I mean, you got a little bit of everything. You have a great host and
Amina Smith.
Amina Smith. She's really good. I like her. She's very talented. You got Scal, who's just straight shooter. He really knows, obviously, this team for obvious reasons, inside and out. And then you got 2 former players in House and Perk, bringing their perspective. I feel like Perk, you know, is at times, you know, kind of serious. He can be a little goofy and have some humor to him. And then there's just Eddie House. I feel like at times just ultra fandom, but at times he just really knows, like, kind of like what needs to happen, you know, being obviously a former player and playing this league for a little while, and obviously being part of a championship team here in Boston. I mean, I feel like all their perspectives just gels so together, and it's good, you know, to see it from their standpoint. So yeah, that's a good mention by you, buddy. They all bring something to the table.
Enjoying him. Love Forsberg.
They're so much better than the national guys. So much better.
I look over there. They got Mike. What is it? Mike Greenberg hosting.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yep.
I don't know how they set him up chair wise, but it looks like he was like poured into his suit. Like just with the amount of space he has. Like he's not a real human. He's like a syrup.
That's great.
You got to see the picture of it. You'll totally understand what I mean when you look at it. And a lot of they're shooting around. There's about 12 people in the arena. They're pretty pumped up.
It's not Boston, that's for sure.
What
not
a
Boston.
Sports city. I'll be sick to my stomach.
They are just so bad. Like, you know, God forbid their team like blows a lead. They are the first one to just hit the exits. I mean, they do so probably faster than any city, and then they certainly just take their sweet time showing up to the game. You know, I feel like you could clearly see noticeable empty seats would not happen in a very great sports town like Boston. You know,
I
can't wait to
talked
see
about it
the
this
Garden
morning.
in Game 6.
You wouldn't see that in Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Detroit, or Chicago.
Yeah.
No, those are my 5 sports cities. Like those are the hardcore fans. Those are the people who get it. That's sports at its finest. A little bit of attitude. I love it. Yeah, but if you say just how they're angled, and Stephen A. Smith has like a whole side to himself. He's dressed at least like not in white tonight, which is very nice. I can't believe we're talking about what they're wearing. Like I'm a fashion expert. I wish I hang my sweatpants. I mean, I have no reason.
Hey, you did dabble in that industry. I remember for a little bit. You know,
I used to get some guys. You know,
not
looking
bad.
good. You know,
Did your thing there for a little bit.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I told nobody I was colorblind. So,
all right. So we got about another 15 or 20 minutes left in the show. It's been good. You're listening to the Eater Ground special Celtics pregame broadcast tonight. Celtics, Miami Heat Game 5 coming up at 8:30. You know, after the National gets their, commercials in and extended time, it'd be probably more like 8:38, 8:40, maybe 8:45.
Wednesday.
A little bit past 8:30. It'll be sometime before midnight. I promise you that.
Yeah, you might miss the Memorial Day parade, but
absolutely
stay through pregame for us.
But yeah, you guys can definitely catch us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, certainly here in StreamYard. But getting back to obviously a very pivotal Game 5 here, buddy. I'm going to start with you.
Oh, I'm going to run. Start with MJ.
Okay, MJ. Who do you think needs to be that dude, that difference maker for Boston tonight? If they even stand a chance to win this game, or certainly keep it close all the way to the end and give Boston a chance to pull it out?
Well, it has to be Tatum. Tatum is the X factor. He's what, like Marcus Smart says, as he goes, the team goes. No, it's really how Jason Tatum goes, the team goes. When he has a bad game, it doesn't. I mean, you can have Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum had a bad game on Saturday. Jaylen Brown had a great game, but still in a loss. So Jason Tatum has to be dominant. He has to take over the game. He has to be, the superstar that he is in order for them to stay in this game. If he has a subpar night, having 10 points, 15 points, you're going to be in some trouble, because obviously we have 2 nicked up guys in Robert Williams and Marcus Smart on that end. And then Jaylen Brown, as great as he is, he's not Jason Tatum. So he's the complementary piece to Tatum. And I think it's all about Jason Tatum.
All right, buddy. I mean, did you hear my question?
Yeah, who's going to be that guy tonight?
Yeah,
it's Tatum. You get named first team All-NBA today. It's Game 5, 2-2. You're bouncing back pretty good off a really bad Game 3. You got to elevate even more and take your team to that championship.
Yeah, no, and that's something too I wanted to touch on before we finish up here tonight. But we will be transitioning to that, obviously, with Jason Tatum and company being named to the first team All NBA. I mean, great, kind of feat in his young career, and it's still clearly ascending up. There's definitely plenty more where that came from. But as I sat there and was thinking about, I mean, I feel like this series has clearly played out as such, where we seen Tatum one night and then him be the total opposite of, what he expects, what Celtics fans expect for him to be, and more so what the Celtics need him to be. And then, when he does have one of those nights, it's guys like, obviously Jaylen Brown elevating their game and stepping up and being that guy. But like MJ said, as Tatum goes, the Celtics tend to go in, not Marcus Smart. But I feel like, we haven't really seen, especially in their wins, both of them get the job done I mean, yeah, that did play out in game 2 down in Miami when we were last here, and you saw what happened. They absolutely obliterated them, played a great game, and Miami just after their 18-8 start, I believe it was. I mean, Boston just stepped on the gas and didn't look back, from that point in time. And we all thought that, and rightfully so, like, oh, now we're going back to Boston. We did what we had to do on the road. Yeah, let's step on their throats. And then game 3 happened. So I feel like it can't be just Tatum. It has to be Tatum in some capacity. Don't get me wrong. It certainly can't just be Jaylen Brown with, a subpar Tatum type effort. It needs to get back to that game 2 sort of successful game plan as a team, as an offense. I mean, I feel like these two have to be the absolute, maybe not at their best, but close to it. And I feel like that's all that they need is probably 25 plus points, a piece, maybe more, give or take. They obviously have to continue to just get it done on the defense, which is a much less of a concern for me. And then certainly they have to take care of the basketball. And that in particular, I'm looking at you, Jaylen Brown. I mean, too many times we just see him over dribbling right into traffic. I mean, you remember Saturday night when we caught the game together, it was just disgusting. It was so maddening just to think, like, what are you doing? How are you as a player on the court not seeing what I'm seeing in front of my television set?
Yeah.
So
you're the professional. I'm not. And
exactly.
I know
so
that's not right.
Yeah. So like, I feel like if they can keep the turnovers to a minimum, stay out of foul trouble, and play just about a B plus to an A minus game, right there, that's your formula to go ahead and at least give yourself a damn good chance right to the end. If not, start to pull away at the end of the game. But I mean, we all know with refs and this and that, sometimes how the NBA likes to extend the series.
Yep, not fixed, but extended.
I don't think that's a guaranteed. I don't think we're going to see another game 2 type, pulling away. But hey, just give this, Boston team of ours a chance. Be within like a point or maybe be up a point or 2. And this time, just don't blow it. Just don't blow it. That's all you got to do, because they're dinged up. They're not the same. Butler, yep, he's out there, but it seems like there's definitely something there. Tyler Hero's already been ruled out. Who knows what type of Bam Adebayo you're going to end up getting tonight. But I feel like you do have the pieces. You do have the talent to go ahead and offset whatever sort of momentum that they're going to try and look to bring to them being back on their home court. So I think it's there. And of course, guys like Al and Pritchard and Robert Williams, Marcus Smart, the list goes on. You are the better team. Now just go out there and prove it.
Yeah, the interesting stat they just put up, the Celtics, since January 29th, where, it really got turned on, have outscored their opponents by 326 points on the road. Point differential. Blowouts. The next closest team was 89. So think about that, like what they're doing on the road, the focus they're having on the road. That means coaching's there. They're being mature. They're making good decisions on the road. That's very important. That's very important. A lot of focus, a lot changed with this team over the course of the year, because we talked about it earlier. They were unwatchable early on in this season. I mean, legitimately, like third quarter, I'm like, yeah, I'm checked out. I can't find any more interest in this. They've done.
I think we talked about this a little bit on Saturday. I mean, you almost never see literally a tale of two halves play out in the same season. But that's exactly what it's been. They go from like 2-3 games under 500, thereabouts, around the All-Star game, going into the All-Star game. And then the light switch just literally went on. And they just didn't look back. And I'm telling you, if they can some way, somehow stave off and survive this series, get to the finals, and dare I say, just keep it going, and just find a way against obviously a very prime, proven, and soon to be ready Golden State Warrior team. I think they're going to close it out in 5. I mean, it doesn't get too much more special than that. I feel like normally when you're great and you go in as these 1 and 2 seeds, you're seeing a full season of consistency. Nope, it was anything but for the Celtics. The first half was the first half, and then they treated the second half like a whole new season. And we've seen them kind of keep it going for the most part right into the playoffs. So
this is
remarkable.
You know what this is? This is the St. Louis Blues in 2019. And some of those other Stanley Cup champions we see who just make a run in the second half, right through the playoffs, right to the championship. That's who they remind. Just came to me. The 2019 Blues, like what they did. They were
the same team that beat the Boston Bruins.
Shut up. We didn't need to point that out. So
sorry, couldn't help myself.
No, now I forgot what I was going to say.
He was too busy telling me to shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Like the principal in class. Kim's the principal. I'll get her.
I got it. I got the answer.
She's the one who shoves everybody in lockers, not me. So, I'll have one TV on that and one on my boy MJF tonight, and that's my night for tonight. Just
awesome.
Keep things going.
I mean, I guess it's only right since we just hit on it a couple minutes ago. But how big is this latest accolade for Jason Tatum? I mean, I'll give my thoughts on the matter in just a couple, but I think it's huge. I mean, I feel like in this league and stuff like that, things like this definitely mean the world to them. And then on top of it, his game 5, like only to give him any more motivation going in. I mean, do you think that this could play a factor into tonight's game, presumably? Like when Boston, you would like to see them go out and just handle business and bring it back to Boston here at Game 6? What do you think, buddy?
I don't think Pro Bowls matter, but if you make an All-Pro, that matters. I don't care that you made an All-Star team. I think Andrew DeClercq made an All-Star team once, so I don't care. I care about the All-NBA. That's where it's at. Where you're the elite of the elite. That's where it matters. And to be first team, top 5 guy, look at the group of guys he's with. That's really impressive. That's we got to give a big shout out to Danny Ainge. Oh my God! Did he? Yeah. Is it still the process in Philadelphia? It's like 14 years later.
His hand is all over this roster. You're seeing it. He drafted a lot of these guys.
I'm kind of waiting for Eric Snow to end up back with the 76ers, and they're going to start rebuilding again. And things are just like, is the process still going on? And rumor is Doc might be going to the Lakers. So
yes, I did see something about that. What do you think, MJ? Is how big of an accomplishment is for Tatum mindset? What do you think this could potentially do for him as early as tonight?
Well, it's huge. It's huge in the fact that in the NBA, accolades mean everything. All-star appearances, MVPs, All NBAs. I'm with Buddy. All-stars. Jared Allen made an All-star. Isaiah Thomas made an All-star. Not taking anything away from Isaiah Thomas. He was a great Celtic while he was here, but I don't look at him as, All NBA. And All NBA is kind of like the elite of the elite, like Buddy said. And you got guys like Giannis, Nikola Jokic. Obviously, Embiid didn't make it the first team, even though he was second in MVP voting, which is weird. But
what a joke.
But having him there and having him that being his first All NBA while he's in the process of guiding his team through a conference finals and potentially to an NBA finals, it does wonders for your credibility in the league. And that becomes, you take that next step. We saw what Giannis did last year. While he stuck with Milwaukee throughout the years, everyone thought he was going to be a flight risk, go to a place like Miami or LA. He stuck with the Bucks, and they brought a championship home, and it changes how some people view him or how they viewed him at the time. Like, you can win with your homegrown team. You can build something there, and so he's definitely I would say right now he's definitely top 6 or 7 in the NBA right now. I haven't gone through a list and made a list, but I think with his playoff run and the way he's played throughout the majority of the season, I think that Tatum should be considered as potentially up there. He's obviously beaten Harden because Harden has killed himself. So he's definitely better than I would say. I would even say better than Kyrie and all those guys. So I'll have to definitely look at a list and trying to see where I actually put him in the top 7. But he's definitely already one of the best NBA players, and just keeps accelerating. And let's hope he does it, with the Celtics for the majority, if not all, of his career, because we know how the NBA works. You make friends with other players on different teams, and then it's bye. So
Yeah.
Just the difference I've heard today too. Just when people talk about him, even nationally, locally, like it was always, hey, Jason Tatum. And when you look around the league and hey, it's Giannis, it's Luka, it's Booker, it's Embiid, it's Jokic. Today, I think he became a one-name player, and people know Tatum. I think that's what changed today. And that's a big deal, because you say Bird, Magic, Jordan, Barkley. You go back through history. When you become the one name, you've become something.
Because before you have to say Jason Tatum.
And I feel like he's definitely trending.
Tatum. You don't think of Jack Tatum. You don't think of someone else named Tatum. Like
you think about the Tatum.
Now you just say Tatum to say, so everyone knows who you're talking about.
Deuce.
And to Buddy's point, I mean, if today wasn't some pretty interesting sort of changing of the guard, and validation in itself, then I feel like in no time, and he has been for a while trending down this path, so for him to start being recognized and acknowledged as such, I feel like this is huge. And this is kind of what I wanted to basically end with. And what better night, for a game, just literally with the announcement going down. I think it was yesterday, I believe it was. And here we are, game 5 tonight. So, I mean, this is awesome. Because like I was basically getting at, I mean, in this particular sport, especially the NBA, if not, the professional sporting world as a whole, I mean, things like this, it matters to these guys, especially the NBA talent. It definitely matters to it. They keep track of this, probably in just like very scary fashion, like, right, got the littlest and finest of details, stats, who's in front of them, who's in behind them, who skipped over them, on draft night. I mean, these guys, I mean, and I feel like in some cases, maybe not the Jason Tatums of the world, because he's already been that dude, but let's take, for example, MJ's boy, Tom Brady, as a 6th-round draft pick, like, what do you think has pretty much fueled his whole career? Like, oh, yeah, I remember, and I'm going to stick it to you, and I'm going to stay sticking it to you. But I feel like now it's just like, of course, Jason Tatum wants to win. Obviously, he's chasing that ring, just like, the next great. But he's like just about more than halfway there now in this, current playoff run. And I feel like him now being and joining that true class of elite from a recognition standpoint, he's arrived, and he's going to continue to get his due with his colleagues around the league. Obviously, just coaches, I mean, you name it, the media. And I feel like this could be a huge vote of confidence going into game 5. He already knew the type of player he was, and what greater way to just put a stamp on it, and arguably playing maybe his best game to date, literally carrying your team, putting them on your back, and then giving it yourself a chance and your team a chance to close it out. And like Buddy said, probably almost an hour ago now, the benefit and the luxury of 6 possible days off, because obviously game 1 of the finals, if it's to be for Boston, is not going to be until next Thursday night. So I feel like everything is kind of lining up in his favor, in their favor. And I will say, I don't know if you guys heard, but the oh my God, what's his JJ Redick podcast? I mean, he had Tatum on there, and I've never heard Tatum speak with so much confidence, so much more, so much passion. Like I was listening to it on the radio, and it was almost like I was watching it, because that's just the energy that was coming across the feed. It was just like, wow, like I don't even hear Jason Tatum talk like this at the half as he's going into the locker room, or post game after like a 35-40 point just outburst. But here he is, like numbers and like, yep, like, this is what you play for, and this is what I want to be. Like, it really matters to these guys. So like, I feel like, I don't know, we could potentially see another, dare I say, epic performance for him. And we all know he's got it on any given night. And now you drop this into his lap. I mean, he's just got to be feeling like on top of the world, and his confidence sky high. And I feel like, this could be a very good thing for the Celtics just by default, along with his supporting cast. But I think tonight, it's not so much of a Tatum or Jaylen Brown, whatever. We need to see these two take over like we saw the last time we were in Miami, aka game 2. And if we do, the heck with the whole extending of the series or whatever. Let's go up 3-2. They can do it, and they could potentially be a game away. So with that, we got just seconds left. How do you guys see tonight, playing out? Good, bad, optimistic? Well, I'll start with you, MJ.
I think it'll be good. I think, for the first time in a while, they have their full, set of, all their guys, available at least. So I think it's going to bode well for them. And like we said, as long as they start off hot early, I think that they can take this game and go up 3-2 and a pivotal, potential clincher on Friday night, Memorial Day Friday night. So I think the Celtics win.
Buddy?
I'm going to go with the Celtics. I think it's going to be close to the half, maybe like a 5-point game. I think this is the time they really come out and run it up in the third quarter, because the third quarter has been pretty bad throughout the playoffs, even looking back to the Milwaukee series and kind of even to the Brooklyn series, 2 years ago, that seems like. They got to just, come out fast and make the right decisions and not be careless with the ball. You can't turn the ball over 24 times on the road. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care who's injured. Protect the ball, make the smart play, make the pass, and go. And, I got the Celtics winning ultimately by 12.
Is that Starks trying to give his prediction that I'm hearing in the background?
Stark's over here, but I got to tell him, Stark, your boy MJF's on TV. Come here.
That's awesome. I love that guy. I didn't know if it was going to be a clean sweep. I guess so. Ultimately, I had picked them, for tonight, game 5. If they didn't just come out and just take things for granted in game 3, then clearly that literally would have been alive and well. But I guess now I can push it back a game. And with that, so I'm going to have also the same Boston Celtics finding a way. I don't think it's going to be easy, like Buddy was just alluding to. But I don't think it needs to be extremely dominant in runaway fashion. It almost never is, especially as you get later and later into the series. But all they have to do is just show up, play their game, just take it right to Miami. They have to be the aggressor. They have to get off to that fast start. They have to take care of the basketball, throughout the game. Try not to turn over nearly as much as at times they end up doing as a team. Again, Jaylen Brown's a big part of that. And just, hitting their shots. Granted, last game, and I forgot to mention this, last game was a great game for Tatum. But if you look in the box score, it was also too a bit misleading because he was like 1 for 7, 1 from 8 from downtown. And just as a team, they shot like crap, from 3. So with that, I mean, are they due again just to bounce back and just, I don't know, hit like 13, 14, 15 threes in them? I wouldn't be at all surprised. But either way, I mean, if their shots are falling, then again, you have that star of the two teams. You have the deeper team. And you are that team defensively. And like we've been hearing all playoffs long, and it's true, defense travels. So I think in a close one, I'm going to say that, it's going to go to Boston. It's not going to be easy. It shouldn't be easy. But that's how I see it playing out. So with that, we got about a half hour or so to the actual game. That's going to do it for us tonight. So there's our founder right there below the screen. Buddy, man, love you. Yeah, you're
love
the best.
You too. Thank you.
MJ, always a great,
you're a good guy
counterpart.
Too.
Great counterpart of mine. And I'm
Galen. I was quiet today. 2 straight hours. I'm not used to it.
Right. Hey, we're working our way up. Maybe we can have more shows
4-hour
like this.
Spot,
If Buddy will allow it,
nobody's doing a 4-hour spot. That crap ain't happening.
Yeah, exactly. Not 4 hours.
You guys have a lot more control right now, but no, that one gets vetoed. Okay,
exactly. 2 hours is plenty enough. It was fun. I had a good time. A lot of great stuff like always. But now it's time to break for Game 5. Go Celtics. We like them. So stay tuned. The game is going to be coming up nationally, and we'll see you next time. I'm going to bring it back. Okay, Friday night.
Tip off in 2 hours.
Just the
not 2 hour show. Not 2 hours show.
No, tip off in 2 hours. They won't tip off till 10:05.
Last thing before we sign off.
Okay, go ahead.
Smart move by Tony Khan putting the main event on first to try to get ratings. Try to get people to watch. Puts a steel cage match on first. Smart move. All right. I'll talk.
All right. So again, for Buddy, MJ, I'm Galen. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you Friday night from 7 to 8. Have a good night.